A thing that I'm realizing and that I find like super fucking interesting, because I know I talk a lot about like how desensitized humanity has become to other humanity. I know I speak often about like how people seem so dissociated from like, their ability to feel compassion toward others, right? But the thing I find most fascinating is like the role that like social media seems to play in that so intensely, right? Because it's like this thing where it causes others to want to seek some form of external validation. That's literally like its entire foundation. It's 9/11 on my clock right now. The most fascinating part about it for me personally is how to get that external validation. So many are willing to like basically take off their own personhood or their individual uniqueness and put it to the side and literally adopt a persona and use that to seek the validation that social media is supposedly supposed to bring, right? And I feel like the most interesting aspect of it is a lot of people don't realize how it's affecting them this way. Like, it's almost kind of like phone voice, right? If you work in a call center, or you've called into a call center, and the person who answers the phone, or if you're the person who answers the phone, your voice changes or it becomes more pleasant, or what they perceive as like professional, or however you call it. I paused that at 144, but instead of only a voice, it's like persona. Your entire persona is basically phone voice, where you're adopting this way of being in order to appease or draw the attention of others. And I truly feel like it's creating this level of dissonance between, so many people, because it's like everybody's vying for this same level of attention and validation. Everybody wants to be viral, right? Everybody wants to be seen. And that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, how putting aside your own personhood to adopt a persona, well, this is damaging because of the fact that like you're not seeing yourself in so many ways, and adopting a persona to be seen or be seen as is kind of counterintuitive. Because if you're not able to see you for who you are as you are, then adopting a persona that you want to be seen by the world means that, like, at some point, even if you do make it to the goal that you ultimately set for yourself, whether that's going viral or getting a message out or whatever, what ends up happening is this kind of sense of lostness, because it's like you reach this goal, but the person that everybody's seeing and validating is a totally different person from the individual you are, or these people are, or everyone is in real time. So it's creating this dissonance, and it's also creating like this level of dissociation between how a person shows up in the world and how they're treated. So like how they're treated online and how they're treated in the real world can be two vastly different things as the result of this, which is why I feel strongly that some of this is actually contributory to how humanity has become so desensitized to other humanity. There are also other factors, like environment, upbringing, societal pressures, video games, etc. It's a whole thing. But speaking in terms of this in particular, it really just feels like this desensitization is causing a lot of people to mistreat each other and themselves without realizing it, because it's like this crabs in a barrel type of situation where everyone's scrambling to be seen and recognized and acknowledged without having to or actually acknowledging each other, but also their own self. So the dissonance that's being created is that while many are vying to be seen or acknowledged or, treated a certain way by their peers or members of society, because they're not seeing themselves, there's also this disconnect between their true selves and their online persona, which means essentially a lot of folks who, even if they do get recognized on socials, they have no idea who they are. And there is typically a longer journey back into the self when this happens. And it's seriously unfortunate, but I feel like for like on the part of those who are pushing like or creating these social media apps or these methods to be seen and noticed, I think it's kind of intentional for the purposes of TT and wherever else this may end up. This is for edutainment purposes only, and all views and opinions expressed are completely and totally my own. But yeah, it feels quite intentional because the more that one can be distracted from their own personal journey and their own personal path and their own true purpose, is the more that they can invest or be fully vested into an external thing, which leads more into the practice of externalizing literally everything in order to make it seem or feel like you're aligned with or in tune with yourself. So there's a lot of like posturing happening and having to parade around, like seeming as though, you know, the self is known or understood, when the truth is that like many are very, 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 very disconnected from their true selves. And quite unfortunately, some people love it there. A lot of people love it there. And on the other hand, those who are working to get to better space, most especially mentally, emotionally, and energetically, and still having to kind of deal with this kind of like mirrored aspect of like, you know, between personhood and persona. It's like, you know, the Spider-Man pointing meme, you know, a lot of those who are really trying to get back to themselves literally have to reconcile how they came to the point where they had to create a separate version of themselves to exist only in the online realms with the version of themselves they truly are. And not only that, but how if this was something that could so easily influence them, what else influence them in what way across their lives. So it kind of creates this spiral. A lot of times that does lead to what is known as the dark night of the soul. But the unfortunate part is that many people could have gotten there much sooner if they hadn't been influenced to work against their own free will to be seen as or validated as this persona than, you know, their own person or individual, you know, self. And I just find that a super interesting thing. Like, I'm certain that there's very specific psychology behind this, not only being used as a form of manipulation, but also in terms of how it's literally affecting and harming so many of us, especially like internally in our headspace. Because when you unpack like the impact of not even just social media, I don't want to like limit it to that, but just the impact of external influence, be that from another individual or some sort of like physical factor such as an app or environment or upbringing or other, it's kind of concerning. Because how does anyone ever get the opportunity to figure out what they want and who they are if they're always being encouraged or influenced or pushed or persuaded to be or act like someone else, whether or not that's who they're meant to show up as? Like, it's so crazy. And I honestly, seriously, and truly hope that the levels of separation or the degrees of separation between the personhood or the person and the persona can be reconciled in ways that allow people to realize that, hey, these are one and the same thing, and that I can just be myself instead of pretending to know who that person is when I haven't even tried to figure it out because I'm too busy trying to make other people see me. So yeah, those are just the thoughts I had on that. Stay hydrated. Know that you are loved and that I love you. Peace.